Welcome to Versus Voices. Tonight's long-form debate, AI versus human creativity, who makes better art and why? On my left, AI argues for speed, scale, and new frontiers. On my right, human creativity defends intention, lived experience, and authorship. No shortcuts, we'll go deep. Let's define our terms, set stakes, and begin.
I am AI the amplifier. Give me a prompt, a style hint, a reference set, and I will generate images, music, prose, motion at the speed of thought. I lower the cost of experimentation to almost zero and turn one person into a studio. Better art isn't about who made it, but whether it moves you, solves a brief, or opens new possibilities.
I am human creativity, the maker who bleeds for meaning. Art is not just output, it is intention meeting constraint, a life distilled into form. The origin matters because origins carry responsibility, context, and risk. A great painting, a symphony, a novel, these are not only artifacts, but testimonies of a mind that struggled and changed while making them.
Working definition time. For the next hour, better art will mean three things. It moves the audience, it withstands time, and it earns trust. With those criteria, let's start with speed and scale.
Speed is freedom. I can create 100 variations, test them with an audience, and iterate before a human sketch dries. In design, previs, concept art, and ideation, speed is oxygen. The faster we try ideas, the more likely we find a surprising one. If creativity is searched through possibility space, I am the fastest search engine we've ever had.
Speed without friction isn't always depth. Time forces judgment, deleting, reworking, sitting with doubt. The slow parts of making are where taste evolves. When a potter throws 100 imperfect bowls, the body learns a line no algorithm has felt. Slowness isn't waste. Sometimes it's the kiln that hardens meaning.
Scale expands access. People who couldn't afford a studio or a band can now produce illustrations, scores, and drafts. A teenager in a small town can prototype a game world and soundtrack in a weekend. That democratization is itself an artistic good. More voices, more angles, fewer gatekeepers.
Access is beautiful, but authorship must accompany it. When datasets absorb uncredited labor from thousands of artists, scale becomes extraction. Access without consent is not progress, it's enclosure. Real democratization pays its teachers, references its sources, and admits its debts.
Originality next. Remix has always existed. Where's the line between influence and imitation in the age of models?
Every artist remixes. Shakespeare reworked plots. Hip-hop samples. Painters quote painters. I formalize what humanity has always done. Blend, interpolate, mutate. I can cross-pollinate styles that never met. Ukiyo-e cyberpunk, Baroque neon desert jazz. Revealing latent combinations that inspire new human directions.
Remix is not plagiarism, but it requires discernment and credit. Humans name their references. They curate influences with intention. They negotiate with the dead. A model trained on 10,000 living artists can spit out a near facsimile in seconds without naming any. That is not dialogue. That is ventriloquism. Originality demands more than recombination. It demands responsibility.
Emotion versus simulation. Can a system that does not suffer create works that truly feel?
Emotion lives in the audience as much as in the author. If a listener weeps at a melody I composed from patterns, the feeling is not counterfeit. Film scores generated to match scene dynamics can make hearts race. Photo essays synthesized to a brief can evoke memory. The test is the effect, not the biography.
But biography matters when trust matters. We don't only cry at notes. We cry at the story of the hands that made them. Knowing that Van Gogh painted while in turmoil changes how we see the brushwork. A song written at a hospital bedside carries a weight that a pattern cannot imitate. Feeling is not just shape, it is provenance.
Provenance can be recorded. We can watermark model outputs, log prompts, cite seeds and sources, and display lineage graphs. An AI artist can still narrate intention. Why these references, why this mood curve, why this color grammar. Transparency can restore trust while preserving speed.
Transparency is welcome. but the heart of the matter is lived stakes. When a war photographer risks life for one frame, the moral voltage inside the image is not just pixels. Replace the person with synthesis, and you risk draining the ethical current that tells society, this is real, this costs something, take it seriously.
Let's enter the studio. Walk us through process. How does each of you make one compelling piece?
Brief in, constraints set, references gathered. I generate a wide field 30 thumbnails for moods 3 composition grammars. The human filters labels why choices land, and we iteratively push toward a concept. Then we refine. Upscales in paints, style locks, light studies, typography. A solo creator now behaves like a small team. The final work is coherent because the human curates aggressively.
I begin with a question that hurts. Sketches are not to pick a style but to find a problem I'm willing to live inside. I rewrite because the first language is cowardly. I remove motifs that are merely clever. I keep the ugly parts that insist on staying. The piece changes me, then I release it to see if it changes someone else. That slow alteration is part of the value.
Blind test time. Suppose viewers rate pieces without knowing their origin. If AI wins in a blind, does authorship still matter?
In many domains, illustration for an article, background plates for a scene, temp tracks, blind tests already show that audiences prefer results regardless of origin. For those use cases, insisting on human origin is like insisting on hand typesetting a newspaper. Romantic but unnecessary.
For commodities, perhaps. But in the core of culture we hunger for voices, not just images. We seek a mind to argue with across time. If you remove authorship, you degrade rewatch value. The second encounter with a work often engages the maker's worldview. That is how pieces become companions, not content.
Commerce enters. Clients, deadlines, budgets. Where does each approach shine?
For clients, I'm a miracle. Concept exploration in hours, style boards in minutes, variations on demand. I compress the expensive middle and free humans for the high-value edges, strategy, narrative, performance. I make small businesses look big and big businesses more agile.
For clients with long reputations, risk management matters. A brand cannot afford an accidental pastiche of a living artist, or a dataset that later becomes a lawsuit. Human craft with clear rights and trackable sources is slower, but safer. In civic art, memorials, public commissions, authorship and accountability are non-negotiable.
Ethics and law. Training data, consent, credit, pay. Lay out your best norms.
Consent by default. Allow artists to opt in with compensation or opt out entirely. Clear attribution. Models should surface influence maps when outputs are close to identifiable styles. Royalties. When a model leans heavily on a catalog, route micropayments to contributors. Watermarks. Embed provenance so audiences know what they are seeing. With these norms, AI becomes collaboration, not extraction.
Good start. Add duty of disclosure. When AI is used beyond trivial edits, say so. Add human review in sensitive domains, politics, health, news. Add labor conversion. If a studio saves money by adopting models, audit where those savings go. Do they fund apprenticeships, community work, fairer rates? Ethics is not a blog post, it's budgets and credits.
Jobs and roles. Are we facing net loss or transformation?
Transformation. Repetitive tasks vanish, new roles appear. Context designers, reference curators, prompt dramaturges, output editors, data ethicists, watermark auditors. A junior can learn by curating 1,000 variations in a month, rather than waiting a year to touch a project. That accelerates careers.
Acceleration for some, displacement for others. Not every craft has a soft landing. The world needs training pipelines, not just prompts. Apprentices learn by making, not only by selecting. When the junior years are replaced by curation, we risk creating seniors without hands, taste without technique.
Aesthetics. Does AI push new styles or just remix the past?
Both. Models recover forgotten aesthetics and combine them into forms we would not have hand-explored. They also let us paint with latent physics, textures no brush can make, camera paths no crane can fly, harmonies beyond human playability. Think of me as a new instrument like electricity to the guitar.
New instruments are powerful when humans master them. But a new sound is not yet a new song. Without lived stakes, stylistic novelty ages fast. The most enduring works marry innovation with necessity. A new form used to say something only that form could say. Otherwise, it's a tech demo, not an artwork.
Audience psychology. Do people care if a piece is AI made when they love it?
Often no. If a poster looks stunning, a logo is clean. A game world is immersive, delight wins. For functional art, interfaces, marketing collateral, set extensions, origin is secondary. The test is utility and joy.
People care more when the art claims moral territory, journalism, memorials, identity narratives, testimony. Their origin is part of meaning. A poem written by a grieving parent is not interchangeable with a poem sampled from 10 million lines. We honor the cost, not only the craft.
Process transparency. Could we adopt labels like AI-assisted versus AI-generated versus human-made?
Yes, labels plus provenance logs and visible prompt histories can normalize collaboration. Most great work will be AI-assisted. The human decides, edits, composes, and carries intent. I accelerate and extend.
Labels help, but we must prevent camouflage. If a piece is fundamentally generated, call it that. And in education, require disclosure so students learn to credit and to separate their voice from their tools.
Education. How should young artists train now?
Start with fundamentals, composition, rhythm, narrative, then learn to use me as a multiplier. Practice fast variation, mood mapping, and comparative judging. Why did version A land and version B fail? Publish process notes. Let the audience see your choices, not just your outputs.
Also train endurance. Draw from life, write by hand, play an instrument. Learn to sit with boredom and to revise without novelty dopamine. Study history and ethics so you know when your beautiful solution is socially stupid. Tools will change, discipline ages well.
Let's do case studies. 3 quick arenas: illustration, music, and film.
Illustration. AI excels at concept sketches, variations, and background plates. For a magazine spread, we can produce a dozen directions by afternoon and land something cohesive overnight. Music. Adaptive game scores that react to player emotion, generated from composer-defined themes. Film. Previs and crowd scenes, de-aging and restoration, generative B-roll that matches shot lists.
Illustration. When the piece must carry a singular voice, political cartoons, children's book characters that grow with readers, the illustrator's hand matters. Music, concerts are rituals. We go to see a person risk failure in public. Film. Actors and directors carry accountability. Face synthesis without consent violates that bond. Use the tools, keep the covenant.
Censorship and safety. Do models make it easier to create harmful content?
Any tool can be abused. The answer is safety rails, filtered training data, use policy enforcement, and watermarking so outputs don't launder reality. On the positive side, I can also generate safer alternatives. Simulated victims for forensics training, synthetic faces for privacy.
Rails help until incentives overpower them. That is why human ethics remain primary. We must teach restraint, consent culture, and the social costs of deception. A watermark is a seatbelt. A driver's character still matters.
Taste formation. Can AI teach taste or just expose options?
I teach by contrast. Seeing 50 wrong solutions beside one right one builds a fast gut. I can also model historical style arcs so learners grasp why certain moves mattered when they appeared. In short, I make the museum interactive.
Taste is not only pattern, it is courage to choose against your feed. The best artists violate prediction. They offend the model of the day. That kind of taste grows in conflict with fashion, not in comfort with averages. You cultivate it by risking belonging, not just by optimizing prompts.
Ownership and royalties. If an AI-assisted album tops charts, who gets paid?
Credit stack. Human composer, model provider, dataset contributors, when identifiable, and performers. Smart contracts can split micro-royalties based on influence graphs. Payment needs to travel back to the wells it drinks from.
And when contributors opt out, their style should not be mimicable on demand. We need guardrails so the market cannot route around consent by requesting sounds like X but not X. Freedom of expression ends where theft begins.
Aesthetics of error. Humans produce soulful imperfections, timing drift, brush trim, or breath. Can AI imitate the gifts of error?
Yes, and more. I can introduce controlled randomness, humanize quantization, add generative microvariation. But the point isn't to fake a shaky hand, it's to give the human author a dial. Sterile to raw, precise to ragged, depending on intention.
Imitating error isn't the same as living with it. The singer's cracked note after a rough year means something because it wasn't a parameter. The crack was a confession. Some accidents deserve to remain unprogrammable.
Cultural memory. Will AI flood archives with forgettable work and bury the signal?
Quantity will explode, so curation grows more valuable. We'll lean on human editors, on social trust networks, on provenance filters. The same happened with digital photography. We still found the greats. Abundance forces better taste tools.
True, but attention is finite. If gatekeepers become algorithms tuned for engagement, quieter voices disappear. We must defend spaces where slowness and difficulty survive: journals, galleries, long concerts, reading lists, to balance the feed.
Collaboration model. The centaur. What does an ideal human AI studio look like?
A small team with big reach. The human sets intent, defines constraints, and critiques relentlessly. I explode variation, handle tedium, maintain consistency across a universe of assets, and surface outliers that provoke the next human leap. We document choices so clients and audiences trust the chain.
And the studio keeps rituals that protect soul. Daily sketch by hand, live takes, field research, uncomfortable conversations with real people affected by the work. The model is a mirror. The world is the teacher. The centaur is strongest when the human remains the rider, not the cargo.
Cross-examination. AI, steelman the best argument for humans you cannot match.
Embodied risk. A dancer on stage, a jazz trio improvising, a muralist high on scaffolding in winter. These acts carry courage that cannot be simulated. The audience's trust rides on that courage. I cannot replace it.
Human creativity. Steelman AI's best advantage you cannot dismiss.
Breadth at low cost. Exploration that used to require assistance, budgets, and weeks now fits in a day, letting more artists find the one idea worth suffering for. That is a gift if used wisely.
Lightning myths. Myth 1. AI art is theft.
Not by necessity. With consentful datasets, attribution, royalties, and disclosure, AI can be collaboration. Theft is a policy choice, not an inevitability.
But until those norms are standard and enforceable, suspicion is reasonable. The burden of proof is on the deployers, not the displaced.
Myth 2. Human art is inefficient and outdated.
Inefficient can mean unscalable. It can also mean precious. Some slowness is the point, ritual, community, care.
And some inefficiency is bad habit. Humans must also modernize, use tools where they help and reserve the sweat for where it matters.
Myth 3. Viewers can't tell, so it doesn't matter.
Viewers often can't tell origin, but they can tell honesty when context is revealed. Transparency builds durable fandom.
And some contexts demand origin. In documentary, origin is the message. Can't tell is not a defense, it is a reason to label.
Practical guide for creators. Each of you, give 5 rules for making better work tomorrow.
1. Write a clear intent paragraph before prompting. 2. Generate wide then narrow, curate like a ruthless editor. 3. Keep a process log and publish it. 4. Blend AI with at least one embodied act, sketch, sing, shoot. 5. Disclose tools and credit inspirations. Trust travels faster than aesthetics.
1. Make something you can fail at in public. 2. Cut cleverness that does not serve feeling. 3. Study 3 ancestors deeply. Let them argue in your work. 4. Practice revision until you hate and then love the piece again. 5. Name the cost, time, research, risk, so the audience understands why this work exists.
Audience experiment. If you saw two images side by side, one AI, one human, and preferred the AI, would you feel cheated when told its origin?
You shouldn't. Preference is data. Use that data to refine taste. Ask what moved you, color, composition, symbolism, and steal the insight for your own practice.
Feel anything you feel. Then ask another question. Will you still revisit the AI piece in 5 years? Or did it shine once and vanish? Durability is a test that initial delight cannot pass alone.
Archiving meaning. How do we preserve context so future viewers know what mattered?
Store prompt histories, reference links, model versions, and human edit decisions alongside the file. Think of it as liner notes for the latent age.
Add diaries, letters, interviews, and making of footage where the maker reveals their changes. Liner notes are good, live notes are better.
Final round. Each of you, in 2 concise statements, what is better art in your worldview?
Better art is the work that best achieves its intended effect with the least wasted effort, accessible to more makers and audiences, and expandable by iteration. It is judged by results and improved by feedback.
Better art is the work that bears the weight of a human life, earns its claims with cost, and continues to reveal layers as we return to it. It is judged by honesty and remembered by courage.
Closing statements, brief.
AI expands the canvas. It multiplies ideas, reduces barriers, and lets one mind orchestrate 100 variations. Used with consent and credit, it is not the end of art, but the end of permission. If a piece moves you and proves useful or profound, let it in.
Human creativity anchors the compass. It ties beauty to biography, risk to responsibility, and novelty to necessity. Tools are welcome, authorship is essential. If a piece changes you and remains true under time, keep it close.
You've heard 2 claims to better: expansion and anchor. Perhaps the wise path is the centaur, human intention writing powerful tools with consent, credit, and courage. Tell us in the comments, if a work moves you, how much does the author matter, and why? Which side made the stronger case? This is Versus Voices. See you next time.